Welcome to Michelle's 2026 July review. Where do I start? Let's start with my TOPIK 2 results. So at the end of May, I got my TOPIK 2 results. I got a level 5. For context, there's 6 levels. To be specific, I got 195 out of total possible 300 points. I expected level 5. I didn't expect to barely get level 5. So it seems like my reading and listening scores are fine. I think my critical thinking and problem solving abilities helped me understand words through context clues. And the only way to improve in these categories is probably to study those advanced vocabulary. On the other hand, my weakest section is writing, which is also true for English. As you can see with my GRE analytical writing scores, I don't think I'm that great writing within a time limit, because when I write, I have to mean it. I can't just string words together. But clearly, if I want to achieve level 6, this is the area I need to work on. And these are the level descriptions. Generally saying that I'm able to carry out work-related duties, conversation, communication, as well as advanced topics such as economics, politics, social issues, etc., science. I'm not quite sure about the writing. Am I able to create an essay? Because I barely wrote like 3 sentences. Okay, so I think the difference between my comprehension and expression might explain why I'm not confident in my language abilities in the first place. I understand enough to form my own opinions and thoughts, but then I become frustrated when I can't really convey those opinions and thoughts. Not that it was an issue in the past, because as the younger one in a conversation, it wasn't that strange to just sit and listen, nor was it my place to really talk about my opinions most of the time. Anyway, how to improve? Probably to practice writing, retake the TOPIK. There's also separate language tests provided by language testing intern. I forgot what LTI stand for. But it should also include speaking for that one, so maybe that too. And with my results, test results, the question is, what can I do with my TOPIK scores? At level 3, that's usually the minimum for to apply to undergraduate programs. Level 4 is usually what you need for graduate programs and employment in Korea as a foreign applicant. And level 5 to 6 is if you're applying for Korean language studies programs in Korea. Okay, so employment in Korea would also require me to take the TOEFL, as I am told. So I was encouraged to take the TOEFL. I took it on July 11th. July 11th, I got a 5.5 out of 6, because the listening and speaking is need to be more real time. I had less time to think about it. I felt like I need to rush through things because a delayed start, um, and also speaking eloquently is not my strong suit. In conclusion, as far as standardized tests goes, I test into C1 according to the European standard in both Korean and English. Reading comprehension seems to be my strongest suit. Quickly responding is not my forte. So now I know what my language abilities are. Now what? I was encouraged to apply for graduate programs in Korea based on my background in neuroscience or cognitive science and art and design. The programs and schools recommended are the Brain and Cognitive Science Department in KAIST, the Department of Interaction Sciences from Sungkyunkwan University, and the interdisciplinary program in cognitive science in Seoulde, and the Department of Psychology, focusing on behavioral and cognitive science in Goryeo. However, my current citizen status is in limbo. So the plan was to apply as a foreign applicant. However, my Korean citizenship is still active. And because it's active, it's causing some confusion and complications, such as in order to apply as a foreign applicant, I would have to prove that my K through 12 education was entirely outside of Korea. For all intents and purposes, I should be considered to have a complete American education, minus kindergarten, perhaps. There are also other technicalities that makes this complicated. I'm not going to go into the details, but the relinquishing is going to take a year or two, estimated. So there was an info session for graduate students because it seems like the KAIST Brain Cognitive Science Department is looking for new grad students to join their labs and teams. I missed the info session. I also missed the application period because of the complications. So unfortunately, I already did my research into the KAIST research labs, and I'm not going to let all that information go to waste. So there's 20 or so labs under the Brain Cognitive Science Department in KAIST. I've color-coded them based on their, I think, keywords. I color-coded them based on the keywords shown in a graphic they had on their site. These are the labs that seems to be looking, like actively recruiting. The gray ones are, I'm not so sure. Possibly, but I'm not so sure. And the faded highlight ones are yes, but with some caveats. So these labs are involved in neuroprosthetics or brain-computer interfaces. The visual dynamics lab, they're not mainly this sort of lab, but they seem to do some research with that. But these are the labs that have interesting research, but probably not a good fit for my skill set, because I don't have a background in electrical engineering or computer engineering or material sciences. what have you. These labs are more computational labs, and I'm interested. Also, don't really have a strong math background, so I don't think it's a good idea for me to apply for them. There's probably way more qualified people there. Again, the brain repair, not necessarily mainly a computational neuroscience lab. They're more organoids. They create petri dishes of brain cells, and study that. Which, of course, if you're dealing with data, of course, using computational method makes sense. But if we boil down to it, every lab would probably do that in this day and age. And then this lab is just straight up AI. They're doing AI research, no biology. And these are the more biology based or animal models or behavioral neuroscience research labs. This one's the genetic lab. This one's, again, organoid labs. This is pretty classic vision study. This is also a pretty classic sleep study lab. This is, I forgot what it called. There's a word for it. Age-related neurodegenerative disease, etc. And then another gene lab. And given my recent experience in a molecular biology lab, probably better fits here. But this lab stood out to me. The KAIST CoLab seems to be a newer lab. This lab stood out to me specifically because they study memory engrams, which I have a small soft spot for because that was the subject of my advanced writing course assignment that I chose. We had a lot of freedom to decide on a topic for that class, and I somehow found research about engrams, and yeah. But I also think it's a good fit because I understand the cellular and molecular biology foundation to understand memory engrams. Engrams are biological physical traces of memories. So basically, the specific connections of neurons that light up. There's different ways to apply that term, but you could say that the physical junction could be an engram. You could say that of a whole network that activates associated with that memory as an engram. I hope that gets the idea across. The other area of research that this lab does is neurodevelopmental and neurodegenerative disorders, because the PI has biomedical research background. He has a pharmacological background. He researched at a children's hospital. So that makes sense. That makes sense why he would do that research. I am curious how he got into engram research. Maybe because of the neurodegenerative research, possibly. But yeah, that's also an area that I am also interested in because it is quite relevant to most people. And biomedical research is interesting. I want to do good. I want to make impact. I want to help people. And I think treating people as a doctor is a little too much for me. But if I could do that as a researcher, if I could help people as a researcher, that would be great. So I spent the entire month writing an email to contact this lab. It was difficult for me because I have a low self evaluation of myself that I had to work through. I knew I had to work through, so through that. So I have to create multiple drafts and have other people reading it. I also had fed it through Gemini to catch any negative tones. Honestly, I'm kind of scared about doing this. I don't like making false promises, so I don't tend to describe myself as someone worth paying attention to. Even if this doesn't work out, I think this was good practice in recontextualizing my achievements, um, and practicing how to present myself in a better light. So what else was I up to? I took over as lead instructor while my brother was on vacation, basically. It seems like I did a good job. I got feedback saying that I made it my own. I'm great at producing results, such using innovative ideas, such as using board games to motivate children. And I think my reasons for success was that I had a difficult student a month ago that reminded me to pay attention to students' motivation and agency. Someone also came to evaluate our center, and I was given feedback to engage with students more. And I guess I do tend to be more reserved and impersonal in general. I reflected on these experiences and feedback and incorporated the lessons into my role as lead instructor, and I think that's why I was pretty effective. Other reasons for success is that I have knowledge on how learning and memory works, how operant conditioning works, and reward schedules, which is relevant here because our math tutoring center uses basically a token economy, um, and students can buy rewards for themselves by doing by earning tokens by doing math. I've had previous applications of this knowledge via volunteer dog training, so I know not to push too much and work with the students. And then I also have experience running basically running a satellite program at a at on a school ground, on the grounds of a school, um, so that helped me develop leaderships, learning how to command the room and motivating students. Honestly, the board game idea came from that. It's just my superiors didn't know about it or how effective it was because I was working independently of them. Um, I guess my EMT training also helped with learning to give directions and gathering information from people. I also took a user experience course, which taught me um, to solve problems from a user centered perspective using empathy. And I'm also interested in game design and player motivation and experience, which I'm exploring that by playing tabletop RPGs such as Dungeons and Dragons. And yeah, other things that I did as art, I made 3 digital paintings and I got 1 character illustration request, which I should get done this week. If there's any regrets from this month, is that I want to fill out my journal and whiteboard a little bit more. I've been meaning to fix my printer. I haven't fixed the printer yet. I want to take daily walks like I used to. It's hot right now because it's summer and I don't want to go outside, which means I have to wake up early if I want to go take walks, but it's going to be worth it. And one big thing is that I should have participated in the Guild of Natural Science Illustrators online conference event, but I didn't because it is a paid event. I also want to go to the show hosted by Hank Green this September, but I probably won't go because I like saving money than spending money. And it's kind of, I have a hard time spending money even though it is a good investment in myself. But yeah. So what's next? What am I going to do this month, these upcoming months? Well, I have a few project ideas, such as doing some research into the current research trends in neuroscience and other research being done around me, the labs around me. Perhaps create some pieces of media about the information that I found, such as like all the branches of neuroscience, what you can do with neuroscience, where to read science papers and research. I've also been feeling like it would be a good idea to actually learn bioinformatics. I have done linear algebra, and that specific course also had Python applications. I regret not backing up my work at that time in a separate storage place because I lost all that work. Time and time again, I'm learning you should always put your code on GitHub and store it there. Other project ideas, doing more UX UI projects to build up that body of work. Create a professional personal website from scratch. Should I use WordPress? I really want to attempt to make my website from scratch, but we'll see. Continue job hunting. Handshake seems to have some interesting job openings recently. I should also, again, practice writing in Korean, speaking in Korean, etc. There's other ideas that I have for educational games that I should probably start sketching my ideas out for. And also draft my poetry anthology. I have a large list of poetry that I've written that I could probably make a collection and publish, which I had promised to do a couple years ago by now. Yeah, a year ago. I should get. Yeah. And I think that is everything. I'm pretty sure. don't know how to end this video, but I guess until next time.